Dr. Seuss, as you know, once told a child's fable. About the Grinch that was quite unable to steal the cheer the holidays brought, and about the lesson that he was taught. But if you lend me an ear, or two, I'll tell you a similar story that's new. It's about a man who commits a crime, but discovers a truth that's older than time. It's a prime example of intellectual snobbery, what came to be known as a great church robbery. The church was known for its love and affection, and they invited folks in from every direction. But to one neighbor, named Mr. DeWitt, their invitation didn't matter one bit. DeWitt hated them for their Christian religion, and held no love, not even a smidgen. And he considered their pastor to be a big fake, and their clanging church bells made his head ache. Though he felt that way, not because of his head, but the fact that his soul was spiritually dead. So with a heart full of meanness and doubt, he watched Sunday morning as their service led out, staring out of his window with a cold, ugly sneer at the warm handshakes and smiles full of cheer.
They'll all be returning for tonight's service as soon as it's dark, and then with their worship, they'll raise a commotion. But what it's about, I haven't a notion. They'll set the big church bells to ringing. They'll all start praying and singing. They'll pound the piano and organ too, but why they must do it, I haven't a clue. Why for too many years I've put up with this stuff. It's driving me quite crazy. I've had quite enough. I must put a stop to it. Without all their church stuff, their bright happy mood will quickly turn foul.
Yes, he felt quite proud and thought himself wise, so armed with a plan and a tricky disguise, he cranked up his pickup and took off with a lurch, and he pulled up to the back door of the church. Determined that his entry nothing would block, he used a screwdriver to jimmy the lock. He tiptoed inside, cane clenched in his fist. Then he lowered his glasses and peered all around to make sure that no one was there to be found.
This guitar, it's the first thing I'll steal.
He loaded them onto his truck, the old hill. Then he ripped up and threw out the pads on the pews. Yes, he took every comfort, and the instruments too. Then he carried the songbooks, all he could heft, and not even the Bible was above theft. When he had taken all he could rob, he was turning to go when he heard a small sob. Grabbing his cane and spun around with a whirl, and there stood by the altar a tiny young girl.
Who's there? You see, I'm caught blind, and I don't know your name.
My daddy's the pastor and I'm Mary Sue. Who are you?
Just a friend. No need to fear.
He motioned the little girl to draw near. DeWitt faked a smile and kneeled down beside her. And she smiled back. Somehow the room seemed brighter.
You see, God sent me indeed. For even a blind man can see you're in need. So I'm taking the old out and buying all new. And as soon as I'm finished, I'll send it to you.
Oh, kind sir, I wonder if I might pray that the Lord would give you your sight.
And before he could answer or move out of the way, she laid her small hands on his brow to pray.
Dear Jesus, thank you for being so kind, and I ask you to touch this man who is blind. Bring the light to his eyes and help him to see. So give him this gift, Lord, and do it for me.
Thank you, dearie. Now go back home and say not a word or tell anybody what you've heard.
And as he watched the pastor's child depart, he felt a strange tug deep down in his heart. But he shook it off with a snort and a shrug, and as he was leaving, he threw out the rug. It was 6:30, soon the church would be full, so he cranked up the pickup, and away he did pull. Up the winding dirt road to the top of the hill, he drove with their stuff, which then he would spill. When he came to the top, it was getting quite dark, and as he drove toward the cliff and put it in park, he jumped out of the truck and strode to the ledge, and stood looking expectantly over the ledge.
They know by now their services have all been done in. They're wailing and moaning, they'll all shed a tear. That's something I wish I could hear. Maybe their joy doesn't come from what's done. Perhaps it comes from someone.
But he could hear a sound quiet and low, rising up from the church in the valley below. But the sound wasn't tearful. Why, it sounded quite cheerful. Everyone there, till the smallest fella, was singing their favorite song, a cappella. He hadn't stolen their joy, it remained. In spite of their losses, they worshipped the same. But suddenly his heart was clutched with cold fear, as he noticed the pickup had slipped out of gear. It rolled toward the cliff edge, that rusty old clunker, as he leaped in its path and shoved hard on the bumper. But it didn't slow down, though his feet plowed the sod, and the first time in his life, DeWitt prayed out to God.
Lord, I know I was wrong for taking all these church things, but save them his sight.
And then the light of heaven shone in, as Mr. DeWitt was born again, and he felt a strange power he'd not felt before, as he found the strength of Samson, and more. He stopped that old truck and turned it around, then he hopped up inside and drove it to town. He pulled up at the church and brought back what he took, each musical instrument, and every songbook. Then he went up to the altar, and beside it he knelt, as he praised the Lord Jesus for the peace he now felt. And he hugged Mary Sue as she climbed on his knee, for her prayer had been answered, and now he could see.
Taylor!
Let's so hope the camera got that.
And action.
You see, God sent me indeed.
Quit. Remember, she's got to do that smile. She didn't do the smile.
Seriously.
And
This room smells so bad.
All right.
Debbie, what are you doing?
Sam, getting in the truck. Take 29.